Hey, I'm Rob Patz.
And I'm Kristen Stanton.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, it's time for the Rob and Kristen Show. So what do you think? Did you like the new opening? I'm trying. You know, they say in marriage, variety is the spice of life. So I've decided to kind of get hipper and cooler each week. No?
I don't really like
that. You didn't
that
like
opening.
that one?
No.
We did one that won't make the show where it sounded like I was from Masterpiece Theater.
He actually said, and this is Masterpiece Theater.
Yes, I did. So, but welcome to a very special edition of our show as we celebrate our third anniversary of Abundant TV. And it blows me away. It really does to start to think that we are at 3 years.
3 years. I can hardly believe it's been 3 years. Now I know, this is kind of a tradition now because it's El Cinco de Mayo and got to have a little bit of Mexican food to celebrate.
Do you know this is his second time?
I know that.
Do you know who this is?
I don't.
That's Pedro.
Pedro?
The piñata.
Yes.
If he comes on another show, he'll be union and we're going to have to pay him. So this may be the last time you see Pedro.
But it is a lot of fun thinking that we are now celebrating our third year and Abundant TV being on.
It's crazy to think that what started as a dream, really almost 4 years ago now, actually longer than 4 years ago. Can you believe that? Because we're coming up to celebrating our 4th anniversary. So it'd be about 4 years right now. I called you and said, hey, listen, let's start a Christian television network. And we have been so humbled by so many viewers, and we've watched those numbers grow every year. And it boggles my mind. We reach throughout the world, places like the Philippines and India, and of course here in the United States and Canada, Mexico, Australia. So many countries, over 100. I just checked before I came on. We have reached over 100 different countries throughout the time that we've been on the air. And that is humbling. Hey, we would love to hear from you. If you're watching, you can hit us up on the app and just tell us where you listen from or watch from.
We would love to hear from you, or, if you have a favorite show or one of the favorite top 5. Oh,
there's a lot of top 5s. Top 5, it is fun because we were doing a little research about the show. And when first season, it was very organic.
It really was.
It wasn't us like going, you know what we need to do? It was just we were looking for fun things to talk about for the show. Because, ladies and gentlemen, though it may seem longer to you, 28 minutes is a long time every week. It may seem longer, but no, trust me, it's a long time to record. So we decided we were going to start doing some stuff. What's your favorite story?
Oh, well, come on. The bear stories. Ben the Bear.
Ben the Bear is who launched this. And
no, but it was a bear story. The very first of the very first top 5.
That's true.
Was the Colorado trail cam bear.
The selfie bear.
Yes. Yes. The one that was.
Yes.
That was fun, but that literally was the first story that launched our very first top 5. And I don't think we called it like a top 5.
No, we were really searching for a name is what it was. But season 1, we launched the top 5 things we think you should know.
And of course, Ben the Bear has made several appearances.
Ben's a legend. He escaped the zoo in St. Louis.
Not once, but twice.
And then, you know what? They said, you're going to do hard time. And so they sent him to Texas. Well, we haven't heard from Ben. We don't know if he's in a secret location or what. Poor Ben. But we love bear stories. And we love the fact that people then, over time, have reached out to us with bear stories.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we need to get like a line of bear stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
Oh, remember the story about the dog who ate like $4,000 from the contractors when they were putting in the fence out in their yard?
Yes. Or it was.
They had to walk around a little pooper scooper after.
Yes, afterwards to put the money back together. Or the fact that for some reason, and I don't know this, and maybe our viewers can explain this to me, people are so fascinated to set Guinness Book World Records.
Yes.
Including a guy who dangled, now he didn't dangle far, it was about 12 feet above the ground, and he did pull-ups from a helicopter.
Yeah, no, that's just crazy to me. I'm sorry.
I don't know, like if you're going to do that, I would think, now, again, I'm not saying I would do this, but if I'm going to do pull-ups from a helicopter, I'm going like, Mission Impossible kind of thing, going like maybe...
You want the Mission Impossible theme song.
And doing that whole thing and lifting myself as there's like a panoramic, maybe a drone, like off going, coming around me, and you see me rippling in my body and up and down, and kind of like, maybe have a guy that looks like a villain up in the top. I totally would do that. But we have seen a ton of that kind of stuff. And of course, other animals too, including recently a dog who surfs.
Yes.
I mean, how cool is that?
That's been a lot of fun.
And of course, we hear from you all the time about the fact that you love Kristen in the kitchen, which is where we're at today. And of course, no anniversary celebration would be complete without food.
Yes. So today we are going to be making a cheese sauce. This happens to be one of my family's favorite cheese sauces. I actually got it from Joanna Gaines Magnolia Table's cookbook, and I tried it out one year, and everybody loves it. My niece just so happens to request it almost every year for her birthday.
We're very thankful she does.
And so we're going to make that. We already have rice made.
It's already
I've
cooking.
got black beans going back here. We're going to make some quesadillas later.
Later in the show.
But we're going to start off and we're going to get this. I've already got butter melted in here, 2 tablespoons of butter. So we're going to heat this up, and we are going to get some onions sauteing. Okay?
Oh, I love onions.
Yes, I know you do.
I always feel sad for people who don't like onions.
Well, this is 1 white onion. So it's 1 like medium-sized white onion. You can use whatever kind you want, but they suggest the white onion for this particular recipe.
It smells so good.
So do you remember last year when we made the taquitos? And they were so spicy.
Let's just put it this way. If you watch that episode again, you will see a very red-faced individual and people think, because we do TV, people think some of this is an act, that we put it on as part of the show. A little entertainment value. And there are things that I do that are entertainment value. This was not one of them, because you can see it in my face. It starts like right here, and my face gets redder and redder through the whole segment. And then my wife, obviously not believing that I can tell when things are spicy, she takes a big bite and goes, "Oh, wow, that was hot."
Well, that's because usually you think things are spicy, and I think, oh, it's not that bad. But that was spicy.
Oh, it was, yes. And we had, of course, and another thing that we love that you tell us about is you love seeing our travel videos. We had gone to Galveston for family vacation, and that's where those came from. And it was like, but they weren't that hot. I don't remember them being that spicy.
And we made the cheese enchiladas with the brown gravy, remember?
Yeah.
And we got that from Galveston too.
Yep.
But those taquitos were really hot.
I wasn't too big a fan of the brown gravy thing. Gotta be completely honest with you.
I love the brown gravy.
It wasn't my favorite thing. I gotta be honest with you. It seemed spicy. It was very spicy, and it kind of like you ever have those things in when you eat them and then they resonate in your mouth for like days. So
this is the guy who pretty much gets the same thing like at every Mexican restaurant. Fajitas.
Well, I get fajitas or a burrito.
Yes,
I get
or a burrito.
sometimes a burrito, but overall I get fajitas. You know why?
Because you know you like it.
Well, that too. but I like making them. It's fun.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
a fun dinner then, or lunch, depending on when I eat them. And in fact, actually, when we were in Galveston, those were amazing fajitas.
Yeah.
And that was, so
They really
that
were.
onion is smelling amazing.
Yeah, it really is. So this is going to saute for 5 to 7 minutes. You want it to be translucent. We're going to let it saute, and we're going to cut to an interview that we did at NRB. And when we come back, we're going to finish putting this together. We are here today with a wonderful author, and you guys know I like get giddy when I talk about books, and so I am excited to have back on the show author Patricia Bradley. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this ever since the last time.
So we met last year, and
Right.
you were working on books. You were probably had this book turned
was-
in already.
I
Or
probably was working on it.
working on
I
it.
was working on it, and I remember it better than I do at the time. I remembered the other one.
So what book is out right now?
Okay, Deadly Revenge is out right now, and it's a story of eminent domain and people who've had their land taken getting revenge.
Ooh. So tell me a little bit more. Tell me about your main character.
Okay, my main character was a detective in Chattanooga, and she was shot by her ex-fiance, and so that kind of messed up the marriage, and so
I would think so.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
just a little bit. So she went home to Pearl Springs. The sheriff there wanted her as a deputy because she's really good, and at Chattanooga, her boss was old school, and he did not really think women should be on the the drug team. So
And
he put her on desk duty, and so when he did that, after she had healed, when she got the opportunity to return to Pearl Springs, she did, and 6 months later, people were dying. So, and she has to solve it, and then. Her old boss, before the boss that didn't like her, who ghosted her after he kissed her at the goodbye party, he shows up to investigate. And so they have a little conflict there, and he wants to apologize, and she really doesn't want an apology.
I don't blame her. No.
No, she said that she would never date a cop again. A fireman maybe, but not a cop.
Okay, so we think that we've given everybody enough information about the book. We want you to go buy the book so they can get it. What's the name of it again?
It's Deadly Revenge, and I got to research blowing up a dam. I got
love that.
to research, and drugs. I mean, it was fun researching.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, and I love the area. It's set outside of Chattanooga, and it's just a beautiful area.
So what is your favorite book that you've written? You've got to have one.
No, that's like saying, well, but actually it's the last book I finished.
That's what every
Always.
author tells me. I keep asking a question because I keep thinking that an author is going to give me a different answer.
But actually, since I just finished a book that carries you back to the first series, to my very first book, so probably right now my very first book is my favorite.
Okay.
Because I'm redeeming the alcoholic teenager who lives on a trust fund, who is now an FBI undercover agent.
Sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
So how many books do you write a year?
1.5,
So
basically.
do you work on one project at a time?
Yes,
So you're not a multiple.
I am ADHD. I do not do well when I try, and I have tried to write on one book in the morning and one book in the afternoon. I will invariably have characters show up in the second book.
We were interviewing Elizabeth Goddard a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago, and she said sometimes she'll be writing and she'll go, "Wait, what are you doing in this book? You're
Right.
supposed to be in the other book."
Yeah.
So
Now,
it's
she can do that, but I cannot.
it's just really interesting,
Yeah.
and I love how people's minds work.
Yeah.
So when you are starting the idea of a book, do you start with a plot? Do you start with the characters? Do you start with the title?
The book I'm working on right now actually started with my editor telling me she would give bonus points to anyone who said a book at the Elephant Sanctuary in Hohenwald, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I didn't know there was an elephant sanctuary there, and it's on the Natchez Trace. I have written a series set on the Natchez Trace. So therefore, I thought, well, I can do that. So I have a criminal anthropologist. One of the elephants dug up a bone and brought it to the barn, and so when they find out that it is a grave, then they call the criminal anthropologist, the forensic anthropologist, and she is there unearthing the body, and the Natchez Trace Ranger has a call, and he has a body on the Natchez Trace, and the deceased worked at the elephant sanctuary, so that's how they get together.
Oh my goodness.
So.
I don't know how in the world you
I
come
don't
up with
either.
so many so many different plots. It's so interesting. Okay, so I've got to ask the question.
Okay.
So you've written how many books?
This is Deadly Revenge is 17. The book that comes out in November is 18, and I'm starting 19.
Okay, so we'll just call it 19 books
Okay.
because you're working on book number 19. So if you were to take characters from two different series that you've written and put them in a book together, who would you pick and why?
I would probably pick Wade Hatcher, who is in the very first book, and at the time he was dating the librarian. And
The librarian.
so I always wanted to go back and tell his story, so I would put him with probably one of the secondary characters in my Elvis book, where the Elvis impersonators were being murdered.
Oh,
So
that sounds...
that's probably because I'm trying, and because it really does help to tie in different series to pique people's interest, readers' interest.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
You know, so what I do when I read a series is I always want an update on the characters.
The characters. Well, I'm doing that. Right now, the book that I just turned in goes back to the very first one where I redeemed the alcoholic. So they're catching up on the characters there.
Well, it sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
I have loved catching up with you
Yes.
and loved hearing about your new book. Make sure that you go to your bookstore and buy the book. Go to Amazon.com and get a copy of it. Actually, just go to Amazon.com
Go
and
to my
look up...
website.
Yes.
ptbradley.com, and there's all the links.
There you go. That makes it even easier. ptbradley.com. Go ahead and check her out. Thank you for being a guest here.
Thank you. That was so much fun. Thank you.
Seeing Patricia Bradley again this year at NRB was so much fun, and she was talking about another one of her books in this series, Deadly Revenge. We hope that you go to wherever you buy your favorite Christian books and pick that one up. It was so much fun.
Such a sweet lady. Just you can just tell like she is controlled and classy and just amazing. Great books. Of course, my wife thinks so. I don't read, so but I do drink coffee, and so that's something important. We want to thank the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. They are fantastic. Their coffee is amazing. I have been doing my best part to support them by drinking as much of their coffee as possible.
It's really not that hard for you.
No, it's not. I love 7 Weeks Coffee. They've got the neat part, I think, about 7 Weeks Coffee too, and we've talked about this before, is what they do and who they support, and they support life, and I think that's so important. And you can check them out. It's 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 when you check out, and it helps you. And we appreciate them so very much and all that they do for us. And I'm so excited because this is smelling so good.
Yeah, so while we were in the interview, I went ahead, because the onions were done sauteing, so I went ahead and added 2 pounds of the white Velveeta. So you're going to want to get one of the big bricks of the white Velveeta, and you're just going to cut up into 1 to 2 inch little cubes. That was what was in the round bowl over here. And then I also added 3 cups of heavy cream. So
can you go wrong? You cannot.
So this is what it looks like right now.
So when you were a kid, was Velveeta kind of like the cheese for your grilled cheese sandwiches?
No.
Really?
No, I think my mom used the Kraft singles.
Oh.
So.
Oh. Okay. My mom probably did too. I thought it was Velveeta, so it shows you what I know. I didn't know about that. So it's crazy to think, though, and you and I have talked about this a lot. I think when you come up to an anniversary of anything, whether it's a wedding, a work anniversary, you talk about what was. And it was pretty crazy to think of launching May 5th of just 3 years ago.
And I'm so glad we picked El Cinco de Mayo because we love Mexican food. Plus, it's easy to remember what day we were on the air, because we had just gone and had Mexican food.
And I would love to tell everyone that we planned it, but the process took almost, what was it, like 3 months?
Oh, well.
3.5, 4 months?
Well, you tried out all of those different hosting platforms, and we finally settled on the one that we use now. And we had to collect a whole bunch of different shows, and we had so many submissions, and we had to narrow it down and decide what we were going to put on. And then, we signed the contract in January.
January 7th.
And we didn't launch until May 5th.
May 5th, because it takes time. You go through a process to be approved, and you have the art design and everything else that you see on our network. All had to be done, and we had some great,
So look at that. I don't know if you can see it. It is really, it's a nice consistency. The Velveeta is melted.
Smooth.
So see that? You got the onions in there.
That
So
just smells delicious.
But you know what? One of the things that I will never forget about the first day that we were on is coming home from Mexican and turning on the TV. And, I was like, oh, this looks like real TV. Because I didn't get the concept of app-driven TV. And I think that's something that a lot of people are really learning, especially, this was 3 years ago. And YouTube even has gone up in viewership since then. And so it was really a lot of fun and seeing all of the work that you did, putting it into scheduling the network, and then just the next day was super exciting.
Well, we were excited because, of course, you look at it and anybody that has ever done something or built something, they step back from it and they go, ooh, this is really cool. And I looked at the numbers the next day, and I can't remember the numbers exactly. So I think Kristen probably, do you remember?
I don't remember exactly. It was like 7,600 and
Seven
something.
something. I couldn't remember.
I was so excited.
We thought that we had just, done the best thing in the whole wide world. And it was interesting. And I think a lot of it too, though, those numbers were great. And of course they ended up growing. And of course, if you watched last year's special, we talked about the fact that we, on just after Christmas, hit 496,000 people watching, and it was crazy.
Yeah, and I think now we average over 400,000.
Over 400,000 every day.
While you're telling the story, I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 can of pinto beans. Now you want to make sure that these are drained and rinsed.
They're made by Ford.
And then, and then I'm also going to add 1 can of black beans, drained and rinsed. And you can do what you want to. The recipe calls for a jalapeno. I don't use that. And it also calls for tomatoes. I just take a can of Rotel and I put the Rotel in there. But I'm going to add all of that stuff.
But we had so many incredible things happen that first year. And there were so many people who stood with us. You think of a lot of great broadcasters who've been with us almost since the start or from the start.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's very humbling. You talked about John Works Too Much.
Yes. I love John Works Too Much. And he's got a new season getting ready to start.
He's got a new season getting ready to start, so we're super excited about that. And his life has had some changes. He's dating, and they're probably going to get married. I don't want to give it away in season 5, so we'll let him talk about it coming up, but it's pretty cool. And of course, his songs, and Del and Richard and Kelly and Susan, the whole family who have been with us from the start. And we like to give Richard the plug. There we go. Look how beautiful that is. We like to give Richard the plug. He is actually the person we talk about when we say there was a ministry that said, you need to get into this. And so there is the behind the scenes story. He and I were talking, which is a rarity that we ever talk. on the phone. So it was neat to get to talk to him. My wife is laughing because we talk probably at least twice a day. And Richard is amazing. And so we did that. And so many great Charlene and Trudy and goodness, I'm trying to go through all the people when we first started, Barb Pruitt and Faith Builders Church, and there was so many, and there were those that unfortunately, and like in everything, they decided that TV wasn't for them, and so they moved on. But we have been so blessed, and you, the viewer, who takes the time, and we know that people do this because they write us and tell us, hey, listen, a friend of mine sent me a link to watch your network, or I watched your network and I found the show's life changing, and that's kind of what it is. And we definitely believe, and you and I talk about living an abundant life.
Yeah, so much, so important. And hey, you know what? We're not done growing. We want to know, what else do you want to see on Abundant TV? Because we have dreams, we have visions, that we're not done. This is probably not what Abundant TV is going to look like a year or two from now. We hope we continue to grow, but we really need your help. We need your suggestions. We need for you to continue to tell your friends and your coworkers, your family members, people you go to church with, about Abundant TV and how they can find it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can watch it on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or you can load it to your favorite mobile device and watch us wherever you go.
Now, the one thing I do want to tell Kristen, and I've saved this until today because it's important, because she loves the fact that you can download it for your phone. And for a long time, Roku was number one. Most of our viewers watched us on Roku. But over the last month, the phone apps, have taken over. And
Oh, wow.
Android and the Apple app have taken over, and now are over 60% of our viewership are watching on their phone.
That's really awesome.
Which is awesome for me. You know why? Because it makes me look thinner. If you're watching me on a 70-inch TV, I look like I look. If you're watching me on a little screen, I look thinner. Go, Android viewers.
Oh, but it really has been a lot of fun, and it's been fun just kind of going down memory lane and thinking about some of our top 5 stories and some of our trips that we've been on to Mackinac and
Galveston, which we talked about.
Galveston, where we've gone to different festivals,
Yep.
which has been really a lot of fun. We still have some shows coming up where we're going to be back in Mackinac. We've got Lake Tahoe, we've got Savannah coming up.
In Columbus, Indiana. Of course, we're going back to
Columbus,
Columbus. We love Columbus. If anybody there is watching in Columbus, Indiana, and would like to meet us, we'd love to hook up and see everybody. It would be a lot of fun.
And if there's some place that you think we ought to go visit, just, again, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
No place hot. Please, if you love me at all or care about my well-being, please, not hot, okay?
You know, one of the other things that I love about kind of what we've done with the Rob and Kristen Show is just the number of people that we get to talk to. The interviews, we've done a lot of interviews with different authors, and for me, it has been so fun. I have loved that so much, and just getting to talk to all of these different people. And, you know, we recently got to sit down with another one of the authors from a division of Baker.
Yep, publishing.
And it's just an absolutely amazing interview, and we hope that you enjoy that.
Hey, it's good to be back doing these fun interviews where we get to be in squares instead of in the studio. I feel like kind of like Match Game, but with only 2, or Hollywood Squares. That was what it was. It was Hollywood Squares with only 2. But we're not in the studio. We get a chance to do this fun stuff. And of course, this always means that we're having a writer on the show or somebody of interest. And
I was gonna
it's
say,
always,
not always. You know,
Well,
we
no,
used to do our show this way. We used to do our whole show this way.
and
You know?
I miss this on occasion because I could do other stuff and still be doing this, but I love the studio now, so it's so much better. Hey, listen, we've got a great writer with us, and this is going to be a good interview.
It's going to be really a lot of fun, and I'm excited to be able to sit down and talk to her and find out what's going on in her world.
So here we go. Welcome to the show.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Deanna.
Yes. Hey, Kristen, I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it is always awesome to talk with writers and to talk just about what your book is about and what's going on in your life. Tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you're working on.
Okay, well, I am Deanna Shrodes. I'm a minister with the Assemblies of God. I have been Pentecostal pretty much my whole life. I love Jesus. I've been married for 37 years. I've got 3 awesome kids and 4 grandchildren and one on the way. I'm currently the women's director for the Peninsular Florida District of the Assemblies of God. And I just released a book called Uncommon Answers, partnering with the Holy Spirit to receive extraordinarily more. And I'm super pumped about that and just glad to be on your show today.
I was listening to all of those things that you said you were doing, and the only thing that was going through my mind is how in the world does she have time to write a book?
Everybody asks me that. That's probably my number one question that I get.
Well, how do
So,
you have time to write a book?
yeah.
Do you
Hmm.
set aside a portion of every day, or
Yeah.
how does that work? And
Yeah.
how did you come up with this idea for this book, Uncommon Answers?
Hmm. Well, as far as taking time to write the book, it's not really something that I need to put into place that's very stressful every day. Writing is something that I've always loved so much, even since I was a little girl. I kind of feel just like I read every day or every night before I go to bed. It's kind of just a habit that if I didn't do it, I would just kind of really feel like something's not right, something's out of place. I enjoy writing every day to some degree. Of course, there's some days I might only be able to do it for 15 minutes, and other days I might be able to do it for many hours. It just depends. But it's such an enjoyable thing to me. I really believe at the heart of it, it's what I'm called to do. Writing is the main way that I enjoy communicating what God has put on my heart. And so it's really not a drudgery, first of all. I think that when something is more of a something that is a drudgery or a dreaded thing to do, it's a lot harder to prioritize it in our schedule. But because I enjoy it so much and because I believe at the core that I'm called to it, it's a lot easier to put something into place where I'm doing it each day. And during certain portions of my of life, I've had to maybe even wake up a lot earlier to do it. And other times, not so much, but it's just been something that's a real joy to prioritize in my life. So that makes the difference for me when it comes to writing books. As far as the uncommon answers and how I got the idea, I've had a lot of miracles in my life and seen a lot of miracles in other people's lives. And I've experienced so much for people that don't believe that miracles are still for today. I guess all I would say to that is I've seen far too much in my life to not believe that they're real. I've seen them too much to know that that's not the case. And so I've been able to see God do a lot of things. And one of my passions is believing that God does not want to just do that for me or for some of my close friends, but the Bible says that God is no respecter of persons. And so I believe that he wants to do this in all of our lives. It's just a matter of tapping into that. And so the book is largely about, how do you see these things happen in your life? And it's sharing verified miracles. Our publisher verified the miracles as true, and so these are real people. These are real miracles, and there's many miracles, including ones that have happened in my life, that are in the book Uncommon Answers, as well as just the various keys that God's given me through Scripture to share with people about how they can see those things accelerate in their life.
Okay, so can you share one of those things with our viewers? Just one,
Sure.
any one of them.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I hardly know where to start, but I will say that probably my favorite one, which is kind of right up front in the book, is listening. I think that as we pray, this is largely a book about prayer. It's about partnering with God in prayer. But what does that mean? So many times prayer to us is just talking, 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 and more talking to God. But very few people will take the time, especially an extended amount of time, to listen to God. I mean, I'm talking really listen, not for 30 seconds, but longer than that to just take time. And I personally believe we need to be listening for God and listening to God just as much as we talk in prayer to him. And so that's one of the main keys in the book, is helping people to learn why listening to God is so important and how to put yourself in position to listen to God even more.
Well, when you're talking about that, I was really thinking about how communication is so important in every relationship. And communication isn't just me talking to you or you talking to
Exactly.
me, it's having a conversation. And if you don't have real communication, you don't have a really great relationship. And so that's really interesting when you're talking about listening. And I think sometimes we do kind of pin ourselves into a corner because we don't take enough time to listen. And I think
Exactly.
that's really interesting thinking about it from just a communication perspective. I love that. So
Absolutely.
so
Yes. And
tell
many of the things that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, and many of the things that God has done in my life with miracles, it's been things that as I've listened to him, he's then given me instruction and he's told me to do something. And as I do that thing that he tells me to do, it's not from my mind, but it's from him. As he tells me to do that thing, then I begin to see his plan unfold.
So when you first started paying more attention, listening, did you start questioning yourself? Is this God or is this just me on some level thinking that this is what I should do?
Well, in my case, I will say it's a little bit different in that I've been listening to God even just since I was a little girl. I've sensed the Holy Spirit. I sense God speaking to me and calling me into ministry, even as a very young child. And I got to know his voice. And I often tell people that, like, I've been married for 37 years. When my husband, well, when someone else calls me, they will I will have to say, who is this again, or and ask. But when Larry calls me, he doesn't even say, hi Deanna, this is Larry. He just goes into, hey babe, blah 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 blah, and tells me, because I already know his voice, because I've heard it and I know it so consistently in my life. And so it's kind of like that with the Lord as well. I've been listening just since I was a child and gotten to know his voice again and again and again. I think with someone, maybe they're becoming a Christian as an adult and they haven't heard that voice, they haven't tuned in and listened to that voice, of course, it's going to take more time, just like when you establish a relationship with anyone. And it takes you time to get to know that voice. So you're not asking, who are you again? You know who that is. And so I just think it takes time to learn his voice and what it sounds like to you. And then you begin to just know that's the voice of the Lord.
So, can you give us one of the miracles that are in your book?
Sure. One of my very favorite miracles that's in the book is a lady named Shannon Howell, and her husband Steve. They were dealing with infertility. And at the time, Steve was away from God. He had been raised in a Christian home, but he had strayed from his faith and he was having difficulties with his faith. And Shannon was still going to church and was a believer. And they were struggling with infertility, as many couples do, and the struggle was going on for so long. And one of the parts of my book, the chapter is about waiting, is about partnering with God through waiting, and not only waiting, but waiting well, how to wait well while you're waiting for that miracle. And so Shannon and Steve are the feature story in that chapter. And so the Lord spoke to Shannon and told her, Shannon, I want you to sow where you want to reap. And so I want you to begin to work with children as much as possible. I want you to find any way that you can bless children. And so she volunteered at church to work in the nursery, eventually taking over the nursery department. She volunteered to work with the girls' ministry on Wednesday nights at her church. She would come on Saturdays and sanitize the toys in the nursery. And she would do this week after week, year after year. And she and Steve went through many, many fertility treatments. They were going to downtown Tampa to a clinic, and they would go there for years and nothing happened. And they went on this journey for 14 years,
Wow.
14 years of Shannon going to church by herself, working in the nursery, working in the girls' ministry at Harvest Church, Lakeland, Florida. She was doing all this for years. And then 14 years passed, and they had a treatment. They had an in vitro fertilization treatment in Tampa, and it didn't work. It was the last straw. I mean, the doctor said, this is it. You're at the end of the road. Nothing has worked. We're going to be stopping all treatments. And so they left so disheartened. And the day that they left, they were driving away from that appointment, and it was 9/11. And they were listening to the radio, and they were hearing about the towers coming down. And they stopped the car and they looked at each other and they said, you know what? Maybe the state of the world is just so terrible and God just doesn't want us to be parents. Maybe this is why. And they just were crying and crying and crying. And they just realized that's it. There's no more hope for us. So weeks later after this, they just kind of put it to rest that we're not going to have children. And Shannon continued to go to church, continued to work in all these children's ministries. And weeks later, after this, Shannon started feeling a little strange and didn't know why. And she just on a whim, she's like, I know I couldn't be pregnant, but let me just take this test. And she took a pregnancy test, and lo and behold, she was pregnant. And it was not through any medical intervention because all of them had failed. Everything had failed. She was not pregnant when she went for the test. And so she was pregnant, and took that pregnancy to term. The doctor said it was like a textbook pregnancy. It was just a perfect pregnancy and delivery. And their little boy, Hunter, was born. And Steve ended up coming back to church over that whole thing, except, came back to Jesus, and they were serving God together in the local church. And they just thought, what could be more incredible than this? We have a child, and they couldn't even dream they would have any more. But sure enough, it was just 1 year later, again, all through natural ways, they had another little boy. And then after that, the doctor had said to her that although she wasn't dealing with infertility anymore, there were some complications that she was still dealing with in that area. And her doctor said, I think we need to proceed with a hysterectomy. So she went in for a hysterectomy, and they had her in the pre-op room, and she was all prepped for that surgery. And the doctor came in and he said, Shannon, we can't do the surgery today. You're pregnant. And it was all through, again, total natural means. And then just when they thought, oh, surely, our family is done, there was an extenuating circumstance in their family, a tragedy that unfortunately occurred where they were asked to adopt a little girl in their family. And so now they adopted their youngest child, which is a daughter. And so now they have 4 children. They couldn't even imagine they were going to be the parents of 4 children. And now an amazing twist in that story is that now their oldest son, Hunter, who is now a young adult, he is now the children's pastor at that same church, Harvest Assembly of God in Lakeland, Florida. And so
Wow.
she sowed where she wanted to reap. And now the little boy that was born is now the children's pastor. And her whole story is about not just how to wait, but how to wait well while you're waiting for God's miracle. So that's just one of the miracle stories. It's one of my very favorite ones that's in the book.
Wow. If that doesn't move you, my
Yeah,
goodness, that is just
it's
truly
incredible.
amazing.
Truly
God
amazing.
God does really miraculous things. And I think sometimes, Deanna, we fail to recognize miracles for what they are. Because
Yes.
a lot of people, maybe they aren't Christians and they would never think, oh, this is a miracle. They would just think, oh, this is just life.
Yeah.
And some people, I think they give up too soon on the things
Yes.
that they have heard God speak to them, and they just give up on it and they walk away from it. And I'm so thankful for stories like hers that are just so encouraging to so many people. And if you are watching tonight and there's something that God has spoken to you, and you know that God has spoken it to you, don't give up. Listen to the voice of God and wait well. Wait well. Oh,
Yes.
Deanna, it has been such a pleasure having you on. Are you working on any books right now?
Right now, no. I'm just riding the wave of this launch of this book, but I'm going to begin writing the next one soon. And so right now it's just all my efforts are in on getting the word out about uncommon answers. But yes, I'll certainly be writing more in the future.
Well, I can't wait to pick up the book and see what else God has to say through you and through the miracles that you have written about in the book, and really about listening to God. I love it. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being a guest here
Um,
on the Rob and Kristen Show.
Thank you, Kristen. It's been such a pleasure to be with you.
Okay, now it's time for my favorite part of the show, food.
Yes, as you can see, I put some of the cheese sauce and some chips out. Now, earlier today, we used our shredder.
We got a brand new shredder.
Yes, that was fun.
That was fun.
And I've started cutting up some peppers
Mm-hmm.
because, I know you're really hungry.
I'm really hungry.
And
this is only an hour show.
so here's the thing. It would not be a Rob and Kristen show without us doing something for the first time that we've never done before.
True.
That is not making quesadillas. We made them plenty of times.
Yes.
However, it is actually using a griddle.
Oh,
So
we bought a griddle.
We got this griddle because we thought it would be fun because Rob likes pancakes.
Oh, I love pancakes.
And so,
But you know that from the show.
So we thought, you know what, let's get a griddle. And so we got a griddle and we thought, hey, why not try to make quesadillas on the griddle? So that's what we're going to try to do. Now, we usually make quesadillas on the stovetop in just, a pan like that, like this one, but I've got rice in it. So we're going to attempt to do it this way. How about that?
That's going to be awesome.
So you want some peppers
I love orange peppers. And people say you can't tell the difference.
Oh, yes, you can.
You can. I don't know. Now, I mean, the argument about M&Ms where they say you can't tell the difference, I probably agree with that, somewhat. Though I think that the different color dyes probably give it different colors. But in this case, I truly believe that yellow, green, and orange all have just a little different taste.
I think they do too.
Okay, well then good.
And we have a red pepper too, but I didn't get that out.
We don't need
So-
it. We got pretty stuff.
Okay, so my question for you is,
Yes.
do you want me to chop them smaller pieces or do you want them like fajita style?
I would say smaller.
Okay.
One more time, just like sideways.
All right, so you don't want them.
Or okay, now you've done I just thought you were gonna. Okay, well that works. I like that now. Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what I was thinking.
I don't know what you're thinking.
I
but
don't. Trust me.
I was just gonna make them like fajita style because I thought it would be easier to put onto the pan.
Well, that would have been smart, wouldn't it?
Well,
We should have had a production meeting about that, shouldn't have we?
No, but then it wouldn't have been fun.
That's true.
Do you want onion?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I love onion.
So, and we've got cheddar cheese. It's a medium cheddar. And we also have pepper jack. Okay.
Now, be careful. If you're not a spicy person, be careful with pepper jack cheese because Kristen was chopping it up today. And there are parts of my tongue I still can't feel.
Oh, whatever.
was-
It's not that bad.
I was like, oh, what is this?
I like pepper jack.
Kristen loves spice, and I don't. Kristen comes from a family that loves spice. To me, being Scandinavian, a spice is butter. That is salt, pepper, and butter. If you're
Yes.
from that part of the world, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, North and South Dakota, you totally understand what I'm saying, which is if it's anything more, it's hot.
I'm not gonna cut the. I was gonna do more of the onion, but I'm not gonna do much more of that because I don't want any onion.
And
on mine.
you don't want any onion ears? Oh, and see here we'll go with the
Okay.
spice.
So here's the thing. What I want to know is when you make your quesadilla, do you use oil or do you use butter? So I saw somebody that buttered the outside of their quesadilla.
Brilliant. Your dad would love that. He would butter everything.
So we're just gonna slide some butter on here. And if you can be so kind as to grab one of those quesadillas, one of those, yes.
Okay.
I guess we'll just saute some of this up. I always make more than what I think I'm making, you know?
Now, we in our house, we like big, like head-sized shells because I like them big. It's like Texas, but except for quesadillas.
So we're just gonna kind of push this along. And what I would like to do is just give this just a minute. And we're going to flip it over.
Now, you make quesadillas with Sophia when she comes every year.
So my niece Sophia, she loves quesadillas. And I'm going to start on mine. She loves quesadillas, and she loves it when I make the quesadillas because apparently it's because she likes the fact that I use lots of cheese.
Well, yes. You can't beat that.
No, you can't. So I am going to put cheese on the entire thing because I'm going to end up folding mine over, I think.
Now, what is the proper way? Which way is? Because now, when I was little, I don't know if my mom just knew I didn't eat a lot, but always my quesadillas were folded over.
Yes. So I've seen people do it both ways. They fold their quesadillas over and other people don't. So I don't know what the proper way is.
I wonder what it is. Now, some people use the small ones. You know, the littler, the flour tortillas, the small ones.
Yes.
And I just like, why? Why waste your time?
Why waste your time?
I mean, you're going to need like 6 of those. Those little ones, I mean, that's like, hors d'oeuvres. Now, if you're doing it as an hors d'oeuvre, that's fine.
Do you want tomatoes?
Yes, I do.
Do you want them inside your...
Yes.
Okay.
I love tomatoes.
I do too.
And it's that time of year now where tomatoes are going to start, coming to the point where you go to a farmer's market, do that. Have we ever done? We did video at the farmer's market in Galveston, didn't we?
And in Columbus, Indiana.
In Columbus, which by the way is one of my favorites. So
that farmer's market is fun.
That is super fun. That's really starting to look good.
So I don't know if you can see this, but it's like melting. See on the top of it?
Melting. Oh, that's from a movie. That's copyrighted. We can't do that.
So that is melting, and when it kind of gets a little bit more melted, then I'm just going to flip it over. Close it like a sandwich.
That looks just yummy. I love that kind of stuff. So tell me, over the time, what's your favorite show that we've done?
That does not have nearly enough cheese in it. Can you grab me another one?
Another one of these?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, favorite show that we've done?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I have a favorite. There's a lot of them that I really like for a lot of reasons.
I have to tell you one of my favorites while Kristen's thinking. I love where we went around and did the top 5 things that we like about Columbus, Indiana. So that was fun.
Oh, well, if we're talking about the travel ones...
Well, no, I'm just talking in general.
If we're including the travel ones, then one of them that we haven't shown yet is probably my favorite.
Ooh.
Mackinac.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That one was really a lot of fun.
And that's become one of our favorite places to go in the country. We're excited about going to Savannah. We'll take you with us. You're going to see a show from Savannah. There are a few episodes this summer that you'll see, because I'm going to put the pressure on my wife to do them, that we did last year in Tahoe. And we loved Tahoe. That was a super amount of fun. I had a great time there and enjoyed it. And this is looking good.
Do you want any...
Pepper jack in mine?
Pepper jack? No. Okay.
No. Is this mine?
This is yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want tomatoes on mine, though.
All right.
Okay. But we appreciate you. And we think it's so humbling to think that it's been 3 years and that a lot of you have been with us since almost the start of this journey. How crazy is that?
Yeah. Yeah, and we really appreciate for all of you tuning in and watching and just being a part of what we do. Yep.
Every day.
And laughing at Rob's jokes.
Yes, which is very, it's humbling to go out. We were at NRB this year, and a very well-known person in the industry came up and said, I love the fact that your wife laughs at your jokes before you tell them. And so that was...
And I don't really know what you're going to say, but I can tell by the look on your face that it's something.
That's what's scary, is that she doesn't know what I'm going to say.
So while we're waiting on that, I am going to go ahead and I don't know if our beans are done. I don't know if they're done, but I'm gonna go ahead and dish up
A little rice.
a little bit of the rice. And it's been sitting for a little bit, but it's still hot.
That looks so good. That looks amazing. So this is your plate?
No, this is gonna be yours.
Oh, okay. That looks yummy. Don't know how that happened, but look at that. A little extra cheese on top. I don't know what happened there. How'd that happen?
Hold that, please.
Uh-huh.
So I think that one of the things that I'm most excited about this year as we go into season 4.
Yep. Year 4.
Yeah, year 4 on Abundant TV is I'm just excited to see what kinds of changes there are going to be.
Well, we
What are-
believe.
What new things are we adding?
Well, I think there's going to be abundance. You know, we believe John 10:10. And we believe that God is getting ready to do some incredibly abundant things
Yes.
for us and for the network and for the people that watch.
Yes.
Because we hope every day that you watch that you're encouraged. That life that you're leading is changed by the people that you hear, the sermons that you hear, the interviews that you hear, all of those things. We hope each and every one of those things help you to create the life that we believe you can lead and lead it more abundantly.
Yes. It is something that we hope that you take to heart, that God wants you to have above and beyond anything that you could ever ask or imagine in just every area of your life. You are more important to God. You are God's greatest creation. And even though sometimes you might be going through something where it feels like God has forgotten about you, I promise you He hasn't. He is right there, and He is holding your hand, bringing you through to the other side. And so, with having said that, again, we want to thank you all for tuning in for the last
3
3
years.
to Abundant TV and also supporting the Rob and Kristen Show.
That's it. Hey, we're going to eat, so you got to go because there's not enough for you and us. But go out and live an abundant life.